A chef will say, I wonder what would happen if I mix this flavor or this seasoning with this. And they become literally like a chemist in the kitchen, trying different things. Oh, I put too much salt. Oh, what if I add a little bit more sugar? What if I take away sugar? And that's what I love about. Yes.
You're speaking my language because I love being a chemist in the kitchen. That is the place where I am the chemist, which is less in the business environment and more in the kitchen at home, right?
Welcome to MetaGagement, the HR show that dives deep into the heart of employee engagement and workplace culture. Your hosts, Ann Scottlin and Dr. Lyman Montgomery, bring you a groundbreaking show that explores innovative strategies and insights to transform and elevate your organization's HR practices. Dr. Montgomery is an employee engagement expert and best-selling author, while Ann Scottlin is an acclaimed business consultant and podcaster. Together, they will unpack the complexities of modern HR challenges and reveal innovative solutions that can be immediately applied to your workplace. Please welcome Ann Scottlin and Dr. Lyman Montgomery.
Hello. Hi, Lyman. How are you, my friend?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. And yourself?
I am good. I had so much fun. Day before yesterday, I went out hiking at a lake that was a higher altitude, so it was nice and cool.
Nice.
Fast picnic, and just our phones didn't work, which was amazing. So we had to actually just be present. It was really, really wonderful. So I absolutely enjoyed that. It's a nice size lake. It's like you can do the loop trail around the lake. Is only about 3.5 miles. And you sit in the lake all that time. It's beautiful. But anyway, any exciting things going on in your world right now?
The thing that is most exciting right now is we have this awesome opportunity in October to once again be with our peers and to share some great information in October, and we'll be sharing more about that. So I'm excited about us being invited to a diversity, equity, and inclusion conference. Excited about that.
Very good. So glad you added that news. It was in my notes, so I'm glad you did it right up front, which is perfect. I'm super excited about that too. As always, we're looking to bring this to you in person, which is even more fun. We have a really good time. Ask anyone who's been to our trainings. We have fun, and we give you really practical and useful support in what you need. So,
yes.
Yeah. And for you, who is here today watching, listening, thanks for being here with us, myself, Ann Scottlin, and the one, the only, Dr. Lyman Montgomery, as we bring you this show, MetaGagement-HR, making the possible probable. We really our commitment is to HR professionals who want to know how to dive deeper into actionable steps driven by neuroscience that help makes your job easier and brings your company and your teams along with you, taking it to the next level, going meta, going above, going beyond, which also means doing things in a slightly less traditional way and being open to taking it several notches higher, moving on instinct, moving on talents, moving on personas, right, Lyman?
Yes.
So we are on part 5 of our series, the 5 Persona Type Architecture series. And that is a reflection of our Focus Meta Mindset and MetaGagement assessment tool that we bring to HR professionals, to companies, to teams, to help them see how do they show up at work specifically, and how sometimes our personalities are different at home than we are at work. And what also makes this tool different and especially helpful is that if you have the opportunity to build a team or modify a team, this helps you in advance to pick the players who can support you in the best possible way. So we're going to share with you some more about that. But first, Lyman, review for them, for everybody here today, the 4 other personas we've already talked about in this series.
Yeah, we kicked off this series talking about the cheerleader, the motivator. That person is always cheerful, always has a kind word, wants to get the team engaged. When there's a slump, this is the person that says, hey, I know we might be down, but that's okay. It's not over. We can do it. We can win. And then we talk about the construction worker. This is the one that wants to roll up his or her sleeves and they want to get into the dirt, get into the weeds. They want to be part, of the team, of the workforce. These are the ones that will say statements like, I wouldn't ask anyone to do anything that I myself would not do or be willing to do. And then we have the very methodical, always thinking ahead chess player. These are the ones that are very strategic in their words. They're the ones that you will hear people say things like, I never ask a question that I don't already anticipate the answer. Why? Because they're already 2, 3, 4 moves ahead. And then last week we talked about the commander. And that's the one that has a person who has a commanding presence of leadership. They don't mind the hard task. Matter of fact, the more complex, the more complicated, the more they thrive. But they're also very good at motivating as well as helping everyone get to the finish line. And today we're going to talk about the last one, which is the chemist.
Yay, the chemist. I love this one. I love them all. The chemist is one of those indispensable players. If you are building a team, you don't want 5 of any of these. You want to choose carefully. And while we aren't all exclusively one type or another, you can choose based on the talents those people bring specifically to the workplace, which may or may not be who they are all the time. So it also helps us realize that sometimes it's people we overlook that have the talent we need because they just don't fit a particular stereotype or have a particular background may not mean they're not the right person for the job. So this really gives you an edge, allows you to go meta and see those small idiosyncrasies and how they can really empower you and your team. So before we get started, though, please do us a favor, help us keep this coming to you. Please like, subscribe, comment on whatever platform you're on. Continue to send us your questions. We absolutely love hearing from you and are always excited to interact with you, the guests. And in the near future, we'll probably be doing some streaming episodes on other social media platforms as we break in and spread. We've been getting incredible views on all of our platforms, incredible numbers of views per episode in the thousands. And we're super grateful for all of you tuning in for that. So please keep it coming. Oh, and share this link with someone else in this field or just in business who might appreciate knowing more. So yes, so let's jump right into the chemist. And boy, there have been some really famous chemists in history. And I think now that, there are even other professions that might reflect this chemist personality, perhaps in tech and other things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about chemists, a lot of times we have this idea in our mind of the person sitting, with bifocals on, with a lab jacket, mixing up a bunch of chemicals in the laboratory. Yes, but understand there are also chemists that work in industry, not just in university settings. And if you think about some perhaps well-known chemists, Alfred Nobel, for which we get the Nobel Peace Prize for, in Stockholm. What's that? Is it Stockholm? Is that no?
Sweden.
They give out the Nobel Peace Prize.
Stockholm, Sweden.
Sweden. Thank you. I was like Scotland. No, it's not Scotland.
I love Stockholm. It's a beautiful city. Yes. I'll go back any day.
Yes. But he's famous for inventing dynamite. You also have most recently in 2022, Barry Shapeless. He won the 2022 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for developing what's called the click chemistry, or method of linking 2 molecules together and creating more complex molecules. And as well as, you have now young people that they're not well known, but they grew up with a little chemistry set. Matter of fact, I had one. And I don't know if you ever did this, where you had a chemistry project where you made like a volcano and made
Yeah.
it erupt, you know. So all of us have, I think, as kids, we're fascinated with chemistry, especially mixing things together. And I learned early that bleach and ammonia is not good to mix together.
What did you do?
Oh yeah, I was a young kid who was in the bathroom, and I said, "Hey, I wonder what would happen if you mix bleach with ammonia." Well, I found out after I about passed out, and that some things you just don't mix together.
That goes for teams too, which is partly why I love having the chemist in this discussion about personas. Um,
Yes,
because yes, it does matter how you combine the ingredients, right?
absolutely, and the amount, and the amount. And so one of the things that I absolutely love about the chemist, and that's who I identify with, is we're always trying to make things better. And
Mhm.
so, similar to the construction worker who's very good at putting things together and trying to configure how things will align with each other, the chemist is always looking at, okay, what would happen if we mix this personality with that personality? What if we rearrange the room? So if you have someone that's always changing things up, they probably have that chemist persona where they're
Mhm.
looking at, well, how would this personality or behavior mix? We can't sit John next to Jim because their chemistry doesn't mix well. Their vinegar and oil, or their oil and water, bleach and ammonia, two explosive compounds coming together, and all of us are going to be passed out.
Yeah, or maybe they're both cheerleaders and they could just
Yes,
be creating so much fun that we get distracted. And I have cheerleader in me, so I'm not being down on anybody here, but I'm just saying,
right,
right?
right.
If they're the kind of personalities that when they get together, they just are goofing around and they're losing their focus on
Yeah,
business,
yeah.
that's just as distracting as someone who's just, being negative. So
Right. Or you have two commanders, one saying left, the other saying right, and they become polarized and don't move at all.
yeah. Yes, no, absolutely true. So I love this about the chemist, that what you're saying right now, that they thrive on experimentation and continuous
Yes.
improving. They love research. They love data. They love using data to find solutions and new approaches. They're detail oriented. So
Yeah.
that gives them their greatest joy, which we have said with all of these personas. It's not just particularly a skill or what they're good at, but actually what gives them joy. And what that is it's going meta. And you don't have to use the word joy. You can say
Mm-hmm.
contentment, happiness, productivity. You can pick. I don't mind. But
Yeah.
it's going meta when you're clicked in, when you're aligned with something that is not excruciating for you to do the work that is in front of you. It actually gets you excited because it's just like an itch you have to scratch. Like
Yes.
you put
Very
me
good point.
in an empty in a messy room with a bunch of empty cubby holes, I will go out of my mind. I will not
Ah,
rest or eat or go to the bathroom until I've organized everything by colors or by numbers and put everything this every single item has an extremely rational reason for being there. So, it's like when someone has, does it just come naturally? Does it bring out their natural enthusiasm?
mm-hmm.
Because that is so much easier than trying to make the cheerleader a chemist or trying to make the chemist a cheerleader.
Yes. And you bring up a very, very good point. You think in the kitchen, right? The construction worker would be more like the cook. Okay. They are very good at making sure the meal is prepped and making sure that they follow the instructions, follow the recipes, right? A chef will say, I wonder what would happen if I mixed this flavor or this seasoning with this. And they become literally like a chemist in the kitchen, trying different things. Oh, I put too much salt. Oh, what if I add a little bit more sugar? What if I take away sugar? And that's what I
My
love
language.
about. Yes.
You're speaking my language because I love being a chemist in the kitchen. that is the place where I am the chemist, which is less in the business environment and more in the kitchen at home, right? That's where it comes out. Oh, I love that. I was experimenting with food and cooking at a very young age. My mom was, she taught high school, like cooking and sewing and things, and for a certain amount of time. So she had these skills and interest and good tools, and, had a really, fundamental knowledge of how it all worked. So by like 5, 6 years old, I'm up on a stool. I mean, she would let me cut things. She just let me get involved right away. And I remember my first chemistry experiment, I think I was 6. And she had gone shopping, and I was home by myself with my dad. And I decided I wanted to surprise her and bake a chocolate cake. Not from mix, you understand. My mother is a baker and a cook. She's not a box food person.
Right.
So I could read just enough, I guess. I got out a cookbook. I could read it. And I was like, oh, we don't really use sugar that much. My parents are very much about health conscious. I'm like, I'll just skip the sugar. I don't even know where she keeps the sugar. We'll just skip the sugar in the chocolate cake. And then I'm like, okay, what's this? Salt. Well, salt is fine. Well, I misread the small T and the big T. So I put in a tablespoon of salt instead of a teaspoon of salt. And on it went with ingredients we have or didn't have. And then I mixed it and actually baked it. And it came out as the hardest, flattest, saltiest brick you have ever seen. I was so disappointed. But it also, instead of discouraging me from cooking, it actually challenged me to be like, ooh, I can improve on this. I can do better. And now when I just need an outlet from stress, from work, for anything else, I head into the kitchen. I mean, I'll be smiling and humming within like 15 minutes. And you can leave me in there for a couple hours. I'll be happy as pie. And So being the chemist in the kitchen is a pure delight for me. So when it's your pure delight, when it's something that comes naturally and organically and actually gets you excited, that's when you recognize the chemist persona in someone who can almost not help but have these skills, right?
Yeah. And, you have some individuals that they're very good at saying, and you see this at dinner parties, where they'll say, oh, well, make sure that Helen and Louise don't sit next to each other. You need to put a buffer in between those two, or they will be picking at each other. It's almost like your siblings, right? Where you have to put, maybe another someone in between. And that's what happened with my brother Robert. Now we would pick at each other. So my mom would put, my sister Mika in the middle of us. We're like, but she's a girl. She don't know how to play. But my mom was very strategic because she knew if Mika was in the middle, we wouldn't be picking at each other. We'd be sitting there trying to, like, man, how can we figure out a way to work around, Mika? And
I think that's the name of your book when you come out with your biography is Mika in the Middle.
Mika, I like it. Mika in the middle, right? And it's interesting, to this day, Mika is the mediator in our family because she was always in the middle.
Isn't that yes? Wow! Look at how your talents are drawn upon.
It's amazing, but she really is. When there are family conflict, she is the one that will call everyone and say, well, so-and-so feels this way. You said this, it kind of hurt their feelings. I know you didn't mean it, but you might want to apologize. To this day, she's still Mika in the middle.
That's amazing. I love that so much. So yeah, the chemistry is really important, and her impact between the two of you was changing up the chemistry. Right. And the chemist in the chemist persona, the chemist who is in the business persona as a chemist, their approach really leads to a lot of tangible business improvements, which is great for companies because it's great for the chemist because they can track the data, right?
Yes, and that's key.
Measure.
Tracking. Yes.
Tracking, whether it's R&D or quality control or anything else, they're going to outperform their peers in that area because, again, it's that natural sort of gift they have. And also the tips for HR managers, and I wanted to make sure we had a couple specific ones today. In fact, that was going to be my hook, and I forgot, guys. I was going to say, learn 2 great tips for HR managers and how you work with your chemist personas. So one of the things you want to do is learn how to identify and nurture who the chemists are in your organization.
That's
Not even
good.
just maybe in your office or your team, but within your whole organization. Is going to give you so much leverage and so much opportunity to create growth in a very strategic way. And you can have your chemists help you do that, which is even better. Like, you really want to know chemists. So, and a lot of what we're going to be talking about today and in the future too is how to identify that. And another tip would be creating an environment that really fosters that innovation and improvement. If you want to have the chemists at work, chemists in that work persona kind of come out of the woodwork, open up a creative environment where they can contribute, where they can say something, where they can recommend a particular R&D project, when they can use, even if this isn't necessarily their only job description, but they still have so much to contribute. And this is where sometimes companies lose the opportunity to maximize the strengths of their employees when they don't have that opportunity to see how someone over here in, the other department might actually have a really good idea.
Yeah. If you look at, for example, major companies like the online shoe company, Zappos,
Love
um,
Zappos.
their culture, they will spend between 15 to 20% of their time really dreaming and coming up with new ideas. Matter of fact, they have incentives for coming up with crazy, wacky ideas of how they can improve their customer service. Uh, they will have like office Olympics. How can we get the product to our customers faster? What are some innovative ways that we can track? And once you create that atmosphere of creativity and you allow those creative juices to flow, you will be amazed at the results that you get just by people, once again, tapping into their imagination
Mhm.
and being able to dream.
It's like,
Another multi-billion-dollar company is Disney. Just think about that. They built a multi-billion-dollar company based on imagination.
no, it's so true. I mean, imagination, and I love what you were saying about Zappos because, in this day we always talk about no waste from an environmental perspective, no waste of recyclables, no waste of good food. Instead of just throwing it away, what could you make from it, or how could you use it for someone? So no waste. And I think that goes the same is true for a company like Zappos is demonstrating a very similar to no waste environment, no waste of talent, no waste of
Yes.
ideas, no waste of the incredible assets you have within your organization, whether it's their name on the wall that says, I do this, or whether they're just people with fabulous ideas. No waste. You know how much more effective and efficient that is when you bring everybody on board.
Totally, totally effective and necessary, I might add.
Absolutely. Okay, well, our producer is telling us that we're having so much fun that it's already halftime and we have to take it. Wow, it's more than that. We have to take a break real quick. So please stick with us. We're going to take a really quick break. While we're doing that, give you a second to like, subscribe, and maybe leave us a comment or question. All right, we'll be right back.
Are you feeling overwhelmed in your HR role? Discover MetaGagement, the forward-thinking solution that goes beyond traditional methods. Our personalized coaching services provide tailored support to help you enhance your professional and personal development. With our focused meta mindset system, you'll sustain motivation and achieve your goals. Experience the transformative power of our engaging events and webinars. Connect, learn, and grow with industry leaders and motivated individuals. MetaGage your organization today. Visit MetaGagement.com and start your journey.
Hi. Welcome back to MetaGagement. I'm Ann Scottlin, and this is Dr. Lyman Montgomery, and we're here talking to you today about HR specifically and how you can identify the personas within your team and your company to either build a stronger team, build a new team, and identify the people who have the particular strategic gifts naturally to support what you're trying to accomplish. And we have talked about 4 personas over the last few weeks, and today is the 5th in our series of 5. Today we're talking about the chemist, for sure. So Lyman, we've described the chemist. We've talked about what they do. We've talked about ways HR can optimize both discovering and utilizing the chemist. Let's get an idea of what does the chemist look like in action.
Yeah, for example, let's say there's a quality control issue and you're looking to, and you ask yourself, how can we drive quality control in our HR department, in our DEI, in our finance, whatever department might be. And let's say the main issue is you're experiencing quality control issues leading to customer complaints and returns. And you're trying to figure out, wow, how can we turn this around? Well, if you tap into the chemist persona, what the chemist persona would do is create what's called a USA project. And USA stands for understand the problem. And then once you understand the problem, then you strategize a solution and then you automate where you can. It's called a USA project. So they will put together rigorous testing protocols where in the chemist's mind, it's like, well, we first have to understand the problem to define the problem. And then we need to test to make sure that it's a real problem. And then they will establish stringent quality controls once they come up with solutions to the problem. And they understand that it's always in flex. So they're not married to any one solution. They may try a number of different solutions. They might say, well, let's try this. And they will pilot. So before they do a full launch, they say, well, let's pilot this in, let's say, one department, a small department, and let's get feedback. Another term they might use is let's beta test this. So before we move to full implementation, let's work out all the kinks, all the bugs, all of the what they would call muta, which means waste. Let's get rid of all the waste. Are there any bottlenecks? And that's what I absolutely love about the chemists is they're willing to try different techniques, different strategies, and they're playing the long game rather than the short game. And they will set up all sorts of measures and milestones and make sure that what we're seeing can be duplicated and replicated. And it's not just a one-off.
Yes, and that is so important to make it duplicatable, replicable, because again, if you don't, it's waste again, right? Now, sometimes you're going to create solutions that didn't work. So, but it's always a pivot and modification. I know pivot's out, right? We can't use the word pivot anymore. I love the word pivot. I'm sorry. I just did. Because everything in my life, I love like micro adjustments. Yes. That's something that gets me excited. So, well, we're going to call it micro adjustments then. Okay. So, so this is how the chemist would constantly have an awareness to bring improvement to those processes and using the data. Another very similar example would be like an employee wellness program that is outdated, that's failing to address the real needs of the workforce, right? And again, a chemist persona is going to jump into research and development for new ideas and new initiatives. They're going to use evidence-based information for designing those programs, which usually involves asking a lot of questions, asking employees what they need and want, asking what wasn't working before. And it takes someone who's willing to be detached enough from that to jump in and do it. Chemists are very good at that.
Yeah. Another thing that I would add to that is when they're in that space of refinement, right? They don't mind bringing in dissenting viewpoints. So they don't look for groupthink where everybody think alike. No, they want to know, tell me what's not working. Tell me where the gaps are. Why wouldn't this work? Give me a scenario where this particular solution may fail. Matter of fact, let's try to test to failure. Okay, that's how they fire test it. They say, how much stress can this particular strategy or recommendation withstand? And they will test it to the stress point of its breaking point. And that's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, testing. That's for real. In Hollywood, it meant something completely different, but still to the same point, right? So when you have the feedback that you need, and you can create programs that really speak to people in that wellness initiative or whatever it is, you have a really unique opportunity. And a lot of times, I would say chemists can be neglected in organizations often because they bring change.
Yes.
Yes, they bring change whether it's wanted to or not, because they're always looking to microadjust. My new word, microadjust, right? So
But it's so necessary. It's so necessary. And you think about if you get on an airplane, the autopilot is making thousands of micro adjustments to keep that plane flying straight.
mm-hmm. Yes, and every day. So this is where I am completely flabbergasted. Love that word. When I see things being done the same way without reevaluating. Every day you wake up in the morning, you do live that day differently. I don't care how predictable your day is, because guess what? You're a day older. The weather's different. You have different clothes that are clean and dirty. You have, like, from day you're out of Raisin Bran. I don't know, whatever your thing is. Like, life, every moment in life is a micro adjustment to the existing environment. So when we get stuck in static situations, whether those relationships, whether that's programs at work, whatever that is, without freshening it up, without seeing what's working and not working, without looking for initiatives to make things better, we really lose the opportunity. And people wonder why the engagement levels are so low. When people are completely bored. Nothing is new, nothing is different, nothing is a living process. It's all, I have those memories of going to my dad's office, and as you know, he was an engineer, an aerospace engineer, and I would go to his office sometimes, and back then, it's so paper intensive, and they would just have these binders that were like 8 inches thick, walls of them. And, it just felt like whatever's in that binder, it's valuable, right? Because we didn't have computers, but it's also kind of static, right? People weren't really opening them that much. It was more about innovation. You had to have a foundation, but if you're not always innovating, if you're not always micro adjusting, you're not going to stay fresh. I could make some aerospace comparisons now based on current news, but I won't. All right, so we're going to have to wrap up already here. The persona type, the chemist. As always, our time goes so fast. Lyman, share what our next. Well, actually, not just our next episode, and possibly even our next mini series. I know we're still figuring that out.
Yes.
What are we going to talk about?
Yes, and so this is something that has come up time and time again, and it's a question. Since the pandemic, post-pandemic, mid-pandemic, pre-pandemic, how do you deal with burnout at work? I'm tired. I'm burning both ends and the middle. I hate going to work. Matter of fact, going to work, I feel nauseated. And so in our next episode, we want to talk about how to cure disengagement and burnout at work.
Mm-hmm. And I love that, because this is so relevant to what we just talked about today with the chemist, and the fact that you're a chemist personality as well.
Yes.
And about what I was saying about micro adjustment, because everyone's like, oh my God, another workshop about burnout. I've heard it all for the last, how many years from COVID and after. But we're going to take a different kind of look at it. And also, instead of it just meaning about how your employees are burning out or how your team is burning out, we're going to talk about HR professionals. My goodness, if there wasn't a place to look at burnout, you need to look no further. And it's not just physical burnout. Emotional burnout is a real thing. And HR can carry a lot of weight on your shoulders. So
Absolutely.
join us for that. If you have any questions specific to that, shoot us over to shoot them over to us. There we go. Shoot them over to us. You can leave it here in the comments. You can send us an email directly. Just pop over to our website that's streaming here, metagagement.com. And as always, please like and subscribe. We are so excited to be bringing this show to you that is unique and specific to HR. Share it with a friend, someone else who might enjoy it. And check out our website, too, for upcoming events. If you love what you've heard about the 5 persona types and you would like to take your own initial assessment of the 5 persona types, again, jump on the website and you can take the assessment there for free, the initial assessment, and we'd love to hear your feedback and what you think. Well, thanks, Lyman. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. It's been fun as always.
As always, and to all of you chemists out there, cheers. Please keep the good work going. All right, thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.